I was in the sauna chatting to a guy called Paul, who I hadn't seen in years. And in this dark, small, sweaty sauna, we started talking. He was in decent shape, some muscle. I'd seen him working out, and he was sat around 20% body fat. And I asked him what his goals were with the gym, what was his reason for working out. And he looks down at his stomach and he pats it and he says, to get rid of this. And as someone who had been in this position before, I knew exactly what he needed to focus on, and it wasn't what he thought it was. What I'm about to say next is controversial, but in my opinion, it's true. And that is that exercise is overrated for fat loss. I see too many people falling into the modern trap of thinking that as long as they exercise, they're going to lose weight without making any changes to their nutrition. And this was proven to me in November 2024. I had just had surgery on my ACL in my knee, and I was pretty much bedbound and then on crutches for a total of about 4 weeks. So during that time, I didn't do any exercise, not even walking. I was eating until I was full. I was never hungry. I wasn't like starving myself. And when I was finally able to, I stepped on the scales around a month after my surgery. And what was the result? I was down 5 kilos. Sure, I stopped working out, and some of that would have been muscle, but it just goes to show that in order to lose weight, you don't need to do crazy amounts of exercise. And I would argue that you don't even need to do much at all. And that the biggest needle mover is actually nutrition and not exercise. And before you go down into the comments, I know that exercise is good for you and that it will help to speed things up. The point I'm trying to make is it's not as important as so many people think. So I'm going to give you 3 points that will massively speed up your physique transformation. And after these 3 points, I'll give you an action plan to follow that will save you years of making no progress. So point number one is that there are only two things that you can do to improve your physique. The first one is gaining muscle, and the second is losing fat. And if you're trying to gain muscle, then the single best thing that you can do, in my opinion, is resistance training at the gym. There are other methods, sure, but the most efficient way, in my opinion, is the gym. And to lose fat, it's all about nutrition. You don't go to the gym to lose fat, you go to the gym to build muscle, and you set up your diet plan so that you can lose fat. That's it. So, point number two is that you need to decide which of these you want to go for first. So, for some people, it is possible to do both at the same time, which is called a body recomposition. If you're over, say, 20+% body fat and you're fairly new to training, like don't have much muscle, then it is possible to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. But if you don't fall into this category, then we need to pick if we want to lose fat or gain muscle, because it's going to be difficult to do both at the same time. So how can you decide which one to go for first? Well, I'd recommend if you're over 15% body fat, then you definitely want to cut first. And if you're under 10% body fat, you're single digits, like shredded, then it'll be better to build muscle first. And if you're in between, like 10 to 15% body fat, then you can kind of choose if you want to build muscle first or try and shred down. So now you've chosen which you want to go for first. Now we need a target to aim for. And I've watched countless hours of YouTube videos and read multiple books on body transformations, losing fat, building muscle. And over all that time, I've boiled it down to two single targets that you need, one for gaining muscle and one for gaining fat. So here they are. For losing fat, you want to aim for a 0.5 to 1% drop in your total body weight per week. And if you're trying to gain muscle, then you want to aim for a 0.2 to 0.5 kilogram increase in total weight per week. Those are the only two targets that you'll ever need if you're cutting and bulking. And these are the exact targets that I tell my students in the Fight Club Physique program. And in the first module, we go through setting up exactly what target to aim for based on your height, current weight, current body fat percentage, all of that. And then it's the step-by-step workout plan, nutrition plan, absolutely everything you need to achieve the Fight Club physique. And if you're interested in that, then it's the first link in the description. So another sauna story that we can extract some super helpful lessons out of. This time it was a woman who was, I'd say, early 30s, very normal, like average looking physique, was probably overweight, maybe obese, and she'd just been swimming. And she was with a mate who was in like a similar kind of shape, and they were comparing their data from their smartwatches. Apparently they can count the number of lengths that you do in a swimming pool, and they just aim to kind of set number of lengths, and then they go to the sauna. So I got talking to this woman, and she told me that she swam every single day, and she was a parent, so for her to actually get that time in to do this exercise was very commendable. I didn't ask her specifically what her goals were, but I assumed that it was to get in shape, do exercise, keep healthy, that kind of thing. And what they said next was crazy, very normal, but also mind-blowing. And the discussion went on to what these two friends were going to have for dinner when they got home. And one of them said that she didn't have anything in at home, so she'll probably just get a pizza. And in my mind, the alarm bells just started ringing, because every day she goes through this effort of swimming, trying to burn off the calories, and then she'll go home and have a pizza and put it all back on and then some, and probably not even feel great after having a pizza. And I think this is so typical of so many modern people and their mindsets when it comes to trying to get in shape. And they just emphasize the exercise so much more than the actual nutrition. And people just get stuck in these traps where they're exercising, and wondering why they're not losing weight or making the progress that they want. And that's because they're completely focusing on the wrong thing. So I think there's two things that we can fix with this issue. The first one is regarding not having anything in. And I've been in this position myself so many times before. And it's a really risky spot to be in, because this is when I was most likely to have something very convenient like a pizza or a ready meal, or if I was feeling super lazy, takeaway. And what I've learned is that so much of healthy eating is actually just being organized. For example, I went to a wedding last week, and we were staying in an Airbnb for a couple nights, and the group were sorting out dinner, and what was chosen? Pizzas again, like super convenient. They taste great, they're so easy to share, and that was what everyone was having. And if I wasn't organized, then I would have fallen into the trap of having pizza myself as well. But I know that they're not great for me. I'm not going to feel great after. So I anticipated this and bought my own food, and I just bought sausages. And we can debate on whether you think sausages are healthy or not, but on my current diet, I'm not eating plants, so I need to get my calories from meat and saturated fat. So I just took like a bunch of sausages. I cooked them before I arrived, and it just meant that I had to put them in the microwave. And again, super convenient because I'd already cooked them and I just needed to warm them up in the microwave for a couple minutes. And they tasted good as well. I enjoyed having them. So it's just that bit of organization help me to get out of a potentially sticky spot. And this can happen like multiple times in a week across the span of a year. It could be the difference between gaining 20 pounds or losing 20 pounds. And one tip to help you be super organized is to just eat the same things like every day. Always make sure your fridge is stocked full of just the food that is on your meal plan. Nothing like treats or anything in the cupboards, just food that is part of your meal plan in your house, and it'll make things so much easier. And when you start to get low, then do another shop and never let it get empty, because that's when you're in a really risky position and you're likely to deviate from your meal plan. So here's the final point, and this is going to be the fat loss plan. So the first part is that we're going to need to weigh ourselves in every single day, Monday to Sunday, and then we take an average of those 7 weigh-ins, and that's going to be our weekly weight. And that's what we're going to compare week after week. And if the difference each week is within that 0.5 to 1% of body fat per week that we spoke about earlier, then we're golden. We don't need to change anything. And if you're under that or even over it, then we know that we need to make a tweak to the plan. So that's it. It's a purely data-driven process. You take the emotions out of it. Don't rely on just looking in the mirror. You make decisions based off data, not emotions. And it's simple, because are you in the target? Yes, keep things the same. If it's a no, then something needs to change. And this eliminates the need for counting calories and being like super strict. So this is what I found to be the easiest way for me. So give it a go. If you like this video, then you might also like this video. Check out the Fight Club Physique program in the description, and I will see you next time.